Unit 3, Learning Target number 10. Write and solve one-step equations from real-world problems using fractions. Part 2. Let's solve some problems with fraction equations. Zeke rides his bike home from school. The ride home normally takes 3/4 of an hour. Today, he stopped at a friend's house, and it took him a total of 1½ hours to get home. How long did he spend at his friend's house? That is our question. How long did he spend at his friend's house? Now, we know that normally it takes him how long to get home? 3/4 of an hour. So normally it takes him 3/4 of an hour to make this distance. 3/4. But today he stopped at a friend's house and then he came home. And it took him 1½ hours. And we want to know how long he stayed at his friend's house. So let's set up an equation. We'll start with what we don't know. We don't know how long he stayed at his friend's house, so we use an x for that. What we do know is that it normally takes him 3/4 of an hour to get home, and today it took him some extra time. So we can say that x plus 3/4 of an hour is equal to 1½ hours. That's because originally it took him 3/4 of an hour, and we're adding x. And now his new time is 1½ hours. Now that we have our equation, all we have to do is solve it. To do that, we get x by itself. How? By using inverse operations. The inverse of addition, or the opposite, is subtraction. We subtract 3/4 on this side, and whatever we do to the left side, we have to do also to the right side. 3/4 minus 3/4 is simply 0, and x plus 0 is just x. Then we do our subtraction on this side. First, we'll convert this to an improper fraction. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. That leaves us with 3/2 minus 3/4. We need a common denominator, and since 2 goes into 4 2 times, we'll simply multiply 2 times the top and the bottom. That will give us 6/4 minus 3/4. We have our common denominator, which is 4, and we simply subtract across the top. 6 minus 3 is 3. So that the amount of time that he spent at his friend's house was 3/4 of an hour. If we add 3/4 of an hour here, we get 1½ Here's another problem. Mickey has 4 1/3 pounds of ground beef. He wants to make hamburgers for himself and 3 friends. If he divides the meat evenly between them, how much will each hamburger weigh? The problem tells us that Mickey has 4 1/3 pounds of ground beef, and he wants to divide it up among himself and some friends. So how many people does that end up being? Now we might be tempted to say 3, but it is himself and 3 people. So we wind up with a total of 4 different people. Now what kind of operation will we be using? Let's start with what we don't know. We don't know how much each burger will weigh. We don't know how much each one of these guys will get for hamburger. So we're going to use x to represent that. But we know that there will be 4 people who get the same amount, which is x. So 4 times x, and that should equal 4 1/3 pounds of hamburger. So how are we going to solve this equation? Well, we're multiplying 4 times x. So to get x all by itself, we need to divide. Use the inverse operation and divide. 4 divided by 4 gives me 1. And 1 times x is just x. Whatever we do to the left side, we have to do to the right side, so we have to divide by 4 on this side as well. Let's convert this to an improper fraction to do the math. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So we wind up with 13/3 divided by 4. And remember that 4 is always 4 over 1. Then we do our keep, change, flip. We'll keep our original fraction, 13 over 3. We'll change our division to multiplication, and we will flip our second fraction to give us 1/4. That leaves us with, multiplying the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom, 13 over 12. Which will give us a mixed number. So let's go ahead and convert that. 12 goes into 13 one time, with 1 left over, and that leaves us with 1 1/12. Each burger will weigh 1 1/12 pounds. Let's try one last problem. Sheldon has 7 boards. Each one is 3/8 of a foot long. We are asked what is the total length of all the boards together. We want to know, he has 7 of these boards. We want to know how much the total length will be if we were to put them all together side by side, just like this. All 7 boards all together, one after another in a line. How much would be the total length if each one of them is 3/8 of a foot long? What operation are we dealing with? Well, we have a total length here. We don't know what this is. We don't know how long this length is, so that'll be x. And we're dividing that into smaller pieces of 3/8. So what we have is x divided by 3/8. And what's that going to be equal to? That's going to be equal to 7. Our total length, when we divide it up into groups of 3/8, will give us a total of 7 boards. Let's go ahead and solve our problem. We know that we're dividing x to get 7, so we need to use inverse operations. So we will multiply, since that is the inverse of division, the top times 3/8. That will allow us to get 1 here, and 1 times x is just x. But whatever we multiply the left side by, we also have to multiply the right side by. So we're going to multiply 3/8 by 7. To do that, we need to remember that 7 is 7 over 1. 7 over 1 times 3/8 is going to be top times the top and the bottom times the bottom, 21 over 8. That is going to leave us with a mixed number. 8 goes into 21 how many times? It goes 2 times. That leaves us with 16, 21 minus 16, and 21 minus 16 is 5, 2 and 5/8. So all the boards put together are going to be 2 5/8 feet long. This total length up here is 2 5/8 feet.